had always wanted to go to the Lord Mayor's banquet at Guildhall. I never thought I would be there.
What was it like?
Well, at home, it was very small, and we had no mod cons. And
when you were 17, 18, you were preparing to go to Oxford. You were going to leave your home behind. Did you, as early as that, have a very clear view that politics was what you wanted to do?
No, because it wasn't possible in those days.
Dennis Thatcher, a middle-class divorcee and former army officer, was 34. He was running the family paint business near Dartford, Kent, when a colleague invited him to a dinner that would change his life.
Was it a shock when you discovered you were expecting the twins? Or twins?
Yes, it was, because I didn't know until the day they were born. I had no idea the twins were coming. They were born a little early. They were born 6 or 7 weeks early. As sometimes happens with twins, they started to come early. And it was not terribly easy. And the doctor suddenly said to me, I think there are 2 there. And I remember saying, well, I hope you can get both of them. But, you know, it can be a little bit difficult. And he was just very skilled. And my goodness me, they're both very, very strong personalities.
There's been universal praise for your performance yesterday. Talk of the front bench. How do you feel about that?
Well, I think we'll just try to be a very good backbencher first. Certainly until these 2 are a little older, I couldn't take on any more political responsibilities. These responsibilities are quite enough.
It may be apposite to say very quickly here that Sir Alec has just said it's been a very close finish.
This astute, genial Tory has the drive and energy essential in modern politics. He is 49. He should stay at the top for many years.
If Harold Wilson had gone to the electorate in 1964 and said, in the next 2 years I'm going to increase taxation by £1,200 million, I am going to introduce a taxation system that no one will be able to understand, and I'm going to fine an employer if he dares to pay an employee more without my permission. And on top of that, I'm going to pay myself 50% more than any other Prime Minister for doing it. he would have been totally and utterly rejected as he should have been.
It's happened. There you are, that's the moment.
Mr. Wilson is now at this moment in his suite. Yeah, Mr. Heath, are you ready to take over the government?
I'm ready to take over the government.
Every child has some ability, some aptitude, often very different sort of abilities and aptitude. You've got to try to bring out whatever is there. But then as well, I think you've got to try to prepare the child for the society into which it will go out, for the world it will live in. And you have a duty to do that as well. Very many, very ordinary parents can pay towards school meals and can pay for milk. If the children have a health requirement, then they can in fact get milk free between 7 and 11. And Mrs. Booth, don't blame me for knocking off milk above the age of 11. That was the Labour government.
All right, let's...
And Labour have now the overall majority, which they've been promised, but not, of course, as big a one as they had been promised.
From Edinburgh to Eastbourne, the same scene. Friendliness, enthusiasm, optimism. A feeling among all groups of people that we can look for a new approach. A new hope in the new leader of the Conservative Party, Margaret Thatcher.
I believe I represent an attitude, an approach. And I believe that that approach is borne out by the development of my own life. I see Britain as having an entirely what you would call a middle-class approach. I call it a fundamentally conservative approach with a small c, because it's founded on belief in the dignity of the human personality and the right to let that develop, and the right to bring up your own children and look after them as you will, and a fundamental respect for the similar rights of others. And that really is what often people don't realize. They say rights of the individual, but those also take into account the rights of other individuals and families. And that kind of society cannot exist without a very well understood idea of law and order and above all self-discipline. But it's a clear picture, and it's much, much more appealing than the cold state. Much more.
And then people want a clear lead on what to do, and then to get on with the job of doing it. This lead can't come from a government like the present one, where the ministers seem to spend their time quarrelling openly among themselves. I want to lead the people of this country away from the quicksands of socialism. Politicians can't please everyone. That would be impossible. But it is our task to try to do justice to everyone.
Disraeli, to follow Churchill, Macmillan, Alec Douglas Hume and Ted Heath. Well, it is a tremendous responsibility, and naturally I wish to do my best, and again to be the first woman at it is quite a responsibility. But after all, you know, the men haven't made such a success of it all the time. So, to yesterday's men, tomorrow's woman says hello.
Whether Britain stays in the common market or not depends greatly on what the 21 members of the Labour cabinet understand by the term renegotiation.
I think it's absolutely vital that everyone should turn out in this referendum and vote yes, so that the question is over once and for all. We are really in Europe and ready to go ahead.
If the vote goes yes, my country will need me to save it.
Tonight, for the first time in this referendum campaign, Labour Minister meets Labour Minister to discuss the arguments for and against Britain's continued membership of the common market.
A jump operation! Come on, we want a jump operation!
Of course, it's turned out to be a loan. But what we're going to apply for from the IMF has to repay that loan. But what we get from the IMF won't be as big as that loan. So we're not, we're in very, very difficult circumstances now.
Where there is discord, may we bring harmony. Where there is error, may we bring truth. Where there is doubt, may we bring faith. And where there is despair, may we bring hope. And to all the British people, howsoever they voted, may I say this: now that the election is over, may we get together and strive to serve and strengthen the country of which we're so proud to be a part.
Prime Minister.
And finally, one last thing. In the words of Erin Eve, whom we had hoped to bring here with us, there is now work to be done.
Ronald Reagan appears to be heading toward a landslide electoral victory tonight across the United States and all sections of the country. And now another deep blow for Jimmy Carter in his native South. The CBS News can estimate that Alabama will fall to Ronald Reagan, as well as Florida, which already has gone to him, a major state there, and the state of Texas and the state of Oklahoma.
Ladies and gentlemen, your Prime Minister.
Yes. I remember Sam Goldwyn's advice: never prophesy, especially about the future. Nevertheless, never mind, it's wet outside. I expect they want it to come in. You can't blame them. It's always better where the Tories are. To those waiting with bated breath for that favourite media catchphrase, the U-turn, I have only one thing to say: U-turn if you want to. The ladies not for turning.
Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, sir, the House meets this Saturday to respond to a situation of great gravity. We are here because for the first time for many years, British sovereign territory has been invaded by a foreign power.
One always hopes for an early conclusion. One's learned throughout this whole Falklands campaign that things tend to take longer than you expect.
Moment. The bell
Woodrow Wyatt says you
moment.
only respect people who come
One
into
moment.
Yeah.
That ship was a danger to our boys. That's why that ship was sunk. I know it was right to sink her, and I would do the same again.
The commander of the operation has sent the following message. Be pleased to inform Her Majesty that the White Ensign flies alongside the Union Jack in South Georgia. God save the Queen.
What happens next, Mr. Knott?
Thank you very much.
What's your reaction,
Rejoice at that news and congratulate our forces and the Marines.
Are we going
Good night.
Conservatives now have an overall majority in this Parliament.
To reform the trade unions. With the support of millions of trade unionists, we've already passed 2 major acts of Parliament. And what a lot we owe to Norman Tebbie.
By October 1983, the threat of communism ran rampant. Virtually every wall carried a revolutionary slogan. The suffocating presence of Fidel Castro, North Korea, and the Soviet Union would only be fully realized after the successful intervention of the United States.
Hello, Margaret Thatcher, yes?
If I were there, Margaret, I'd throw my hat in the door before I came in.
Oh, no, there's no need to do that.
Listen, I'm We regret very much the embarrassment that's been caused you, and I'd just like to tell you what the story is from our end out here. I was awakened at 3 o'clock in the morning, supposedly on a golfing vacation down in Georgia, and was there with the Secretary of State, and so we met in pajamas out in the living room of our suite to, because of this urgent plea from the Organization of East Caribbean States. We immediately got a group going back here in Washington, in which we shortly joined on planning and so forth. It was literally a matter of hours when your word came of your concerns. By the time I got it, the 0 hour had passed and our forces were on their way. Yeah. And of course the time difference made that it was later in the day when you learned of it, and for us over here it was only 5:30 in the morning when they finally landed, and at last we could talk plainly.
Would not speak for very long, even on the secret telephone to you, because even that can be broken.
Yes.
So I'm very much aware of sensitivity.
Well.
But the action's underway now, and we just hope that it will be successful.
Well, we are sure it is. It's going beautifully.
Well, let's hope it's soon over, Ron, and that you manage to get a democracy restored.
We want to put them kind of out ahead in helping in the restoration of a government, so there'll be no taint of big old Uncle Sam trying to impose a government on them.
Well, there's a lot of work to do yet, Ron, still, isn't there?
Oh, yes. Yeah, and
it'll be very tricky.
We think that the military part of it is going to end very shortly. But as I say, I'm sorry for any embarrassment we caused you, but please understand it was just our fear of our own weakness over here with regard to secrecy.
It's very kind of you to have rung, Ron.
Well, my pleasure.
Appreciate it. How is Nancy?
Just fine.
Good. Give her my love.
I shall. All right.
Thank you very much. I must return to this debate in the House. It's a bit tricky.
Oh, all right.
Yes.
Go get him. Eat him alive.
Goodbye.
All right, bye.
Good evening. The Mine Workers Union is heading for what could be its toughest battle so far to maintain the momentum of its 22-week strike.
I think if any group of people in this country or any government gave into violence and intimidation of the kind which has disfigured our screens, there'd be no future for democracy. It is the work of extremists. It is the enemy within.
At 2:54 a.m. on Friday, October the 12th, 1984, the Irish Republican Army tried to assassinate the entire British cabinet. They almost succeeded. A bomb had been placed inside the Grand Hotel in Brighton, where most leading members of the Conservative Party were staying during their annual conference. 4 people died, many more were badly injured. It was the most devastating terrorist attack ever launched against British politicians. Among the injured, the Industry Secretary Norman Tebbit. He was rescued by firemen working under BBC television lights. They asked him in hospital later if he had any allergies to anything, and he said, yes, bombs. Mrs. Thatcher had been working in her suite when it happened. Apart from the wrecked bathroom, all the glass and mirrors in the bedroom were smashed. Police said the Prime Minister remained icy cool throughout. The conference began on time. The delegates, reduced in number, stood in silence for 2 minutes to honour the dead. A few hours later, Mrs. Thatcher was back in the hall for her big speech. Security men were everywhere. And Mrs. Thatcher declared her defiance of the bombers.
This government will not weaken. This nation will meet that challenge. Democracy will prevail.
Mr. Speaker, Mr. President, distinguished members of Congress, on this, one of the most moving occasions of my life, my first words must be to say thank you for granting me this rare privilege of addressing a joint meeting of the United States Congress. Conservatives said, this is the way. They said, forget it. We were told you can't reform trade union leaders. You can't reform trade unions. Their leaders won't let you. But we did. We were told you can't abolish price and wage controls. Inflation will go up. But we did. And it came down. We were told you can't give council tenants the right to buy. But we did, and the houses sold like hotcakes. They said you can't denationalize. The unions won't wear it. But we did, and the workforce positively snapped up the shares. Step by step, we are rolling back the frontiers of socialism and returning power to the people.
It is to such basic practical steps that the community's attention should be devoted. When those have been achieved and sustained over a period of time, we shall be in a better position to judge the next moves. It is the same with frontiers between our countries. Of course we want to make it easier for goods to pass through frontiers. Of course we must make it easier for people to travel throughout the community. But it's a matter of plain common sense that we can't totally abolish frontier controls if we are also to protect our citizens from crime.
Mr. Gorbachev, tear down this wall.
It is our purpose to retain the power and influence of this House and not to denude it of many of the powers. I wonder what the Right Honourable Gentleman's policy is in view of some of the things he said. Would he have agreed to a commitment to extend the community's powers to other supplementary sectors of economic integration without having any definition of what they are? Would he? Because you would have thought he would from what he said. One of them was that the Commission wants to extend its powers and competence into the area of health. We said no, we weren't going to agree to those things. And what he says, he sounded as if he would, for the sake of agreeing, for the sake of being little Sir Echo and saying me too. Would he have agreed to extending qualified majority voting within the Council, to delegating implementing powers to the Commission, to a common security policy, all without any attempt to define or limit them? The answer is yes. He hasn't got a clue about the definition of some of the things he is saying, let alone securing a definition of others. Yes, the Commission does want to increase its powers. Yes, it is a non-elected body, and I do not want the Commission to increase its powers against this House. So, of course, we are differing. Of course, the chairman or the president of the Commission, Mr. Delors, said at press conference the other day that he wanted the European Parliament to be the democratic body of the community. He wanted the Commission to be the executive, and he wanted the Council of Ministers to be the Senate. No. 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 Perhaps the Labour Party would give all those things up easily. Perhaps they would agree to a single currency, to total abolition of the pound sterling. Perhaps, being totally incompetent with monetary matters, they'd be only too delighted to hand over the full responsibility, as they did to the IMF, to a central bank. The fact is, they have no competence on money, no competence on the economy, so yes, the Right Honourable Gentleman would be glad to hand it all over. But what is the point in trying to get elected to Parliament only to hand over your sterling and to hand over the powers of this House?
Mr. Speaker, I believe that both the Chancellor and the Governor are cricketing enthusiasts, so I hope there's no monopoly of cricketing metaphors. It's rather like sending your opening batsman to the crease, only for them to find, the moment the first balls are bowled, that their bats have been broken before the game by the team captain. The conflict of loyalty to my right honourable friend the Prime Minister, and after more than 2 decades together, that instinct of loyalty is still very real, and of loyalty to what I perceive to be the true interest of this nation. That conflict of loyalty has become all too great. I no longer believe it possible to resolve that conflict from within this government. That is why I have resigned. In doing so, I have done what I believe to be right for my party and my country. The time has come for others to consider their own response to the tragic conflict of loyalties with which I have myself wrestled for perhaps too long.
I am best placed to recover those people who have indicated that without a change of leadership in the Conservative Party, they will not vote for the Conservatives at the next election.
Will you take an active part in the
Lovely.
Hello. Tons of energy left. I hope you have some. All right. That's a lot.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
Right, but when I returned, I thought, well, I simply must speak to members of my cabinet and 1 or 2 other senior ministers. And I'm not going to say who said what, but they weren't 100%. And they were very concerned, although they said, most of them, not all, that they would certainly support me. There was just a feeling that I thought, well, if we get through, we'll probably get through, but the things will go on being divided with this kind of little bit of uncertainty. I had just better decide, because it should have come clear on the first ballot.
Can you just talk?
I think that decision was right. May I say so? I think that decision was right, although the letters I had, we had over 160,000 in the end, were marvellous. They didn't understand, and they contested what happened, because they said, we voted for you in a general election.
Question is that this House has no confidence in Her Majesty's government. The Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, sir, it is of course the right and duty of Her Majesty's opposition to challenge the position of the government of the day. It's also their right to test the confidence of this House in the government if they think the circumstances warrant it. I make no complaint about that. When the right honourable gentleman's windy rhetoric has blown away, what are their real reasons for bringing this motion before the House? Because there were no alternative policies. There were just a lot of disjointed, opaque words. The opposition's real reason is the leadership election for the Conservative Party. A democratic election according to rules which have been public knowledge for many years, 1 member, 1 vote. A far cry from the way the opposition do these things. The real issue to be decided by my right honourable and honourable friends is how best to build on the achievements of the 1980s. How to carry Conservative policies through to the 90s. How to add to 3 general election victories a 4th, which we shall surely win. Look at
that over her 11 years, the gap between the richest 10% and the poorest 10% in this country has widened substantially.
Mr. Speaker, all levels of income are better off than they were in 1979. But what the honourable member is saying is that he would rather the poor were poorer, provided the rich were less rich. That way you will never create the wealth for better social services as we have.
And what a policy! Yes, he would rather have the poor poorer, provided the rich were less rich. That is the Liberal policy. Yes, it came out, he didn't intend it to, but he did. I think I must have hit the right nail on the head when I pointed out that the logic of those policies are they'd rather have the poor poorer. Once they start to talk about the gap, they'd rather the gap were that. Down here. That. Not that. But that. So long as the gap is smaller, so long as the gap is smaller, they'd rather have the poor poorer. You do not create wealth and opportunity that way. You do not create a property-owning democracy that way. The people of Britain want a fair deal in Europe, particularly over our budget contribution. We have got back nearly £10 billion. We want the community to move forward as 12. And from my talks in Paris with other European leaders over these past few days, I'm convinced that that is their aim too. Europe is strongest when it grows through willing cooperation and practical measures, not compulsion nor bureaucratic dreams. I give way to the honourable gentleman.
I'm most grateful to the Prime Minister. Will she tell us whether she intends to continue her own personal fight against a single currency and an independent central bank when she leaves office?
No, she's going to be the governor.
On the present structure...
Order. The Prime Minister.
What a good idea. I hadn't thought of it. But if I were, there'd be no European Central Bank accountable to no one, least of all to national parliaments. Because the point of that kind of European Central Bank is no democracy, taking powers away from every single parliament and being able to have a single currency and a monetary policy and an interest rate which takes all political power away from us. As my right honourable friend said in his first speech, after the proposal of a single currency is about the politics of Europe. It is about a federal Europe by the back door. So I'll consider the honourable gentleman's proposal. Now, where were we? I'm enjoying this. I'm enjoying this. Right. Mr. Speaker, I was on.
You can wipe the floor with
I was talking about Europe.
Order! Order!
Ladies and gentlemen, we're leaving Downing Street for the last time after 11 and a half wonderful years, and we're very happy that we leave the United Kingdom in a very, very much better state than when we came here 11 and a half years ago. It's been a tremendous privilege to serve this country as Prime Minister. Wonderfully happy years, and I'm immensely grateful to the staff who've supported me so well. And may I also say a word of thanks to all the people who sent so many letters still arriving, and to all the flowers. Now it's time for a new chapter to open, and I wish John Major all the luck in the world. He'll be splendidly served, and he has the makings of a great Prime Minister, which I'm sure he'll be in very short time. Thank you very much. Goodbye. Actually, I was told beforehand that my arrival was unscheduled. But on my way here, I passed a local cinema, and it turns out that you were expecting me after all, for the billboards read, "The Mummy Returns."
Back in Downing Street.
Good evening. Today we lost a great leader, a great Prime Minister, and a great Britain.
How much is that doggy in the window? The one with the waggly tail. How much is that doggy in the window? I do hope that dog is for sale.